Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Torch Sports. I'm Jackson Schock alongside our Orange Zone crew, Zach Pelfrey, Luca Tao, Colton Pennington. Let's dive right in. Following their frustrating loss to unranked South Carolina, Tennessee shifts their focuses to Kentucky as they prepare to take on the Wildcats in Lexington. So, that being said, let's take a look at what went wrong against the Gamecocks. Now, Colton, talk us through what went wrong against South Carolina.
I mean, this was the worst performance of the season by an absolute long shot. It reminded me of, the last 3 or 4 years when just these random games we seem to score 40 points and can't get anything going offensively. South Carolina was pretty impressive, but, I mean, not as impressive as it looks by the score. I mean, we played so bad offensively. Players not named Dalton Connect or Santiago Vescovi shot 6 of 27 from the field. That's just over 22%. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that, like 0. So we've got to get somebody else going other than Dalton Connect. Obviously, he had 31 points in this game. We only had 59, so that's not going to be able to continue. If we want to have any shot at a national championship or even a Final Four, these other guys have got to get going.
Zach?
I mean, I agree with the same way. I mean, he shot 35% from the field. I mean, you can't win games like that. Not to mention, he only shot 23% from 3. Tennessee's been known to shoot threes in their games, but also free throws. We made nothing for free throws, only 60%. You saw after the game, Connect was out there, and Adu, I think, was out there too, putting up free throw shots because we just cannot win the free throw game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm agreeing with you guys completely. The scoring was just not there from everybody other than Vescovi and Connect. Ziegler had 2 points, and both of them were free throws. When's the last time you've seen that from him? And defensively we looked good, but I mean, it just wasn't enough.
Now, taking a look at Tennessee's most recent losses most recent games as a whole and their losses, Colton, what really stands out to you, and what do you think they need to do to kind of win the game in both halves? We see, yes, they've won the last 4 out of 5, but they didn't necessarily win both quarters of every single game. What do they need to do to do that?
Yeah, I mean, against Georgia and Vanderbilt, I believe they were down at the halftime break, and both those teams aren't very good, especially Vanderbilt. They haven't won a game in the SEC all year. So we've got to just play better in the first half. I mean, both halves. I mean, against North Carolina, for example, I remember that game, and we were down by 20, 25 points in the first half and came back and only lost by like 7, but you're not going to be able to come back after that big of a deficit in the first half. So even if we're just like tied against Kentucky at halftime, I think that gives us a better chance in the second half. We've played so good in the second half all year. So it's like you said, it's definitely that first half that we've got to step up and shoot the ball a lot better for sure.
Absolutely. Now let's switch over to Kentucky. We'll take a look at that graphic now. They are not doing well as of late. They've lost their last 3 out of 6. That's ugly, especially from a Kentucky basketball team that was ranked in the top 10. Still is currently right now. I can't imagine that's going to be that way unless something crazy happens against Tennessee this weekend. Luke, what stands out to you when you look at this graphic?
I mean, what's looked bad for Kentucky for me is their defense. Their defense hasn't been very solid over the last 6 stretch of games, and they're 500, which is not something that you expect to see from a team like Kentucky, who was a heavy favorite to go very far in the tournament early on this year. But the thing that stood out to me is that they've given up lots of points as well. They gave up, I believe it was 97 against A&M, 96 against Georgia, and 94 against Florida. But in doing so, they've also put up a lot of points. They put up 105 against Georgia. That's phenomenal. So, I mean, Kentucky, to me, it just comes down to their defense. Their offense is working, but whether or not their defense plays well really determines, the outcome for them.
Yeah. Now, let's take a closer look now at specific players as we start to isolate this game against Tennessee versus Kentucky against Kentucky. Zach, pick one player who's going to be really an impact guy coming this Saturday.
I'm going to have to go with Dalton Connect. I mean, he's the only star player on the team as of right now, the only ones who consistently perform. We've seen him score 28, 33, 39, 25, 31, 32 in the past couple of games. So he's been consistently playing well. On the flip side, though, we need some other players to step up. But Connect, we've seen him go to the rim. We've seen him dunk, shoot from 3. He can kind of do it all. He's going to be the X factor in this game.
Yeah, let's hope so. I've got the Dalton Connect of Kentucky, if you will, Antonio Reeves. This guy is a baller. I mean, we knew that last year. He essentially ran the offense. He was the offense last season for Kentucky. This year he's got some help, but that doesn't mean he still can't make a shot. He's a shot maker. He's a shot creator. He's going to be a problem. And if Tennessee cannot stop him, he's going to be able to essentially do what he wants. The same way that Dalton Connect is able to get 30 points on the road. He's at home, but still, I'm a little worried about Reeves' performance in that he might put up a few points and not in the good way. Go ahead, Colton.
I'm going to go with Trey Mitchell for Kentucky. I mean, what's been the kryptonite for the Vols this season? Big men underneath. Purdue, Zach Edey, the best big man in the country, best player in the country. North Carolina, they've got Armando Bacot, 3-time All-ACC. Hunter Dickinson was 3-time All-Big Ten. He was an All-American last year. Tolu Smith was first-team All-SEC last year. And B.J. Mack, who we played against South Carolina, he averages 14 points a game. All 5 of those centers are the centers that have averaged the most points per game that we've come up against all season, and 6th is Trey Mitchell. So if he has a really good game, I mean, based on what's happened so far, I don't think we're going to win. But in all the games that they've lost this season, he averages 13 points per game. He's averaging 9 points total in those 5 games. So when he plays bad, they don't win. So we've definitely got to limit him to have a shot, I think, especially given it on the road.
Let's hope so. Luke, round us out. Who you got?
I'm going to go to the guy that hopefully can be our Trey Mitchell and Jonas Adu. He's had a rough stretch of games. There's no really other way to put it. But him, to me, is going to be a real X factor for the Vols because, I mean, Dalton Connect is great, and he can put up tons of points. But as you said, if nobody's helping him, that's not enough to win games. And I think, having a big guy down on the post to run your offense through, is going to be so crucial in, helping get the ball to other players and not just kind of relying on Connect to continue that, streaks, of 30-point games, It's going to be really crucial for him to, make the layups, get the ball down low to him and let him kind of do his thing because he could have had 12 points against South Carolina, but it was just easy shots that were missed. Some were contested granted, some were contested that he missed, but I mean, you got to work the ball on the post with him and kind of let him do his thing a little bit more.
Now, let's go big picture. Saturday, Zach, who do you see winning?
So there's a whole picture that needs to happen here. Tennessee has to win. First off, they have to win the turnover battle. They have been terrible at turning the ball over this year. Second, they have to get to the line. Tennessee rarely gets to the line in the game. We've seen stretches of, Georgia going out there and shooting 20 free throws to Tennessee's 8.
Yeah.
So I think getting to the line and then making your shots to drop. But also on defense, you gotta stop them in the paint. You gotta let them shoot tough shots. I can see Tennessee winning if they have a consistent game throughout the whole game. I think they could win, possibly. I'm going to give them 79-72.
I'm going to hop in on that train. I think Tennessee takes it, but it's not going to be pretty. I can tell you that. I think it's going to be like 63-60, and it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be 2 teams that are trying to fight to get back on track, more so Kentucky than Tennessee, but I think Tennessee takes the edge. They've got something to prove, especially that game was ugly. That South Carolina game was just terrible, and I think Coach Barnes is going to get into them. I have Tennessee winning. Colton, who do you think?
Yeah, I agree that it's going to be a close game, but I actually think the opposite of you. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Kentucky's one of the best offenses in the country, but their defense is not good. I mean, they've given up more than 70 points in, I think, 16 of their 20 games this year. So, and Tennessee's much better offensively than they have been in the last couple of weeks. I know they didn't show that against South Carolina, but I do think that if our offense can show up, we can shoot well, we can definitely win this game. But it's just going to come down to, can our defense stop Kentucky's offense, and can Kentucky's defense stop Tennessee's offense? Whichever team wins that battle right there is going to win. But I'm going to lean Kentucky. It's on the road. I mean, Rupp is such a tough place to play. It's going to be hard for us to go in there and get a win. But I'm going to go with a 4-point victory for Kentucky.
Luke?
Yeah, I'm going with Kentucky with you as well. It will be definitely a close game. I think that's a commonality between all 4 of us. But to me, it's just going to come down to our offense. Will people step up and help Dalton Connect? We have a ton of experience on this team. We've got a ton of playmakers. But I think part of what you said with those kind of rough starts in the beginning, we have guys who will make plays down in the stretch that are clutch, that have been in this situations before. But Rick Barnes doesn't really have that reliable of an offense to lean on to kind of start games out. He's a phenomenal defensive coach, one of the best in college basketball right now. But where I struggle to kind of keep up with the Vols is, like you said, those early first half moments when, you're just trying to, run your offense, get some points on the board, and start the game off strong. I just haven't really seen that as much from the Vols this year, and I think that's going to come back to bite them against Kentucky.
Well, let's hope not. I mean, let's hope not. We wish Tennessee all the best of luck, and hopefully they come back with a win. But that's all we have for this segment of the Orange Zone. Coming up, we've got Rocky Top Crew talking all things NCAA women's basketball and NFL. Thank you so much for watching, and we're going to see you right back here next week. Peace!
Hello and welcome to Rocky Talk. I'm your host for today's episode, Riley Halton. I'm joined by Matthew Slitsky and Jordan Smitherman. Let's get right into it with the Super Bowl. It's right around the corner, and the matchup is set. Brock Purdy will be leading his team against Patrick Mahomes in the big game. Through some incredible playoff drives to win games, the discussion around Purdy has shifted. So Matthew, let's start with you. Is he a top 5 quarterback in the NFL currently?
I can tell you this, he's certainly not better than Patrick Mahomes, right? He's very good. He's up there. He's top 10, but he's young, so he's not top 5 just yet. Yeah, I could list 5 players ahead of him, maybe 6, 7, or 8, but give him time. Just like I said all season, I admit when I'm wrong. Jordan Love, give him time. I mean, I still think he's not great. I don't consider him good, but, he'll get there. But Brock Purdy has great offensive weapons. It's what makes him good, just like Tua. Tua is probably an average-level quarterback without his weapons, right? So you're bringing Brock Purdy into the mix. Now, he's competing for a Super Bowl. What the Super Bowl does for his resume, the top 5 resume, well, I guess we'll have to find out, wait and see. But I would probably not put him in the top 5 just yet.
Gotcha, Jordan.
I just don't think Brock Purdy's him. Like, he's not that guy. Like, I know it's hard to get to the Super Bowl. I know quarterbacks don't do it often. But also, Jimmy G did the same thing. He took the same Niners team to the Super Bowl. So what makes Brock Purdy different? And, like, why did Jimmy G not get all the hype that Brock Purdy's getting? Like, if you could put any other quarterback in the 49ers offense, and I think they would succeed. I mean, he has Debo, McCaffrey, Kittle, and Ayuk. I mean, that's all the weapons a quarterback can dream of. Like, how can you be bad in that offense? I mean, we've seen it before, and Brock Purdy is better than Jimmy G in some ways. I just don't think he's him. And, like, if you put Brock Purdy on the Titans, he'd be trash because we have no weapons. So,
Trash?
yes.
Interesting.
All right, but we'll shift from that over to the big news here on Rocky Top. And it's the NCAA investigation into Tennessee and its NIL collective Spire Sports. After a scathing response from Chancellor Donde Plowman and a lawsuit filed by the Tennessee Attorney General, there are some huge shifts on the way for college athletics. Jordan, give me your thoughts on the whole situation.
Okay, this whole situation makes me frustrated because personally, in like my Vol bias, I just think they're hating to see us succeed. We're starting to succeed. We're becoming better than Alabama. And they're like, oh no, we got to give them some violations. And we just overcome the Pruitt violations too. And now we're just posed with these ones. And it's just frustrating because I feel like every team in college football has these violations of some sort because there's such a fine line between recruiting and NIL and just all of that coming together. And I just think that the NCAA just chose the wrong team to fight. Like, why do you choose us? And as you see with Donnie Plowman, Attorney General, Danny White, all of them are getting in, and I just think they chose the wrong team to fight because I love the fight that Tennessee Athletics has in Donnie Plowman to make everything right. And now it seems like the whole world of college football is like coming behind them. So yeah, I think it's frustrating, but I think we're fighting the good fight, and I think this needed to happen.
Yeah,
but,
worth mentioning, Danny White jumped in on it, said he was not going to let the NCAA make an example out of the Vols. So, Matthew, what are your thoughts?
Well, the NCAA already did it already, right? With an $8 million fine, record-breaking fine, just a few months ago over the summer. Now we see for the second time Tennessee getting hit with all these allegations. Look, Donde has every right to be upset, right? If you're the NCAA, you continue to change the rules, whether it's NIL, whether it's how you recruit, whatever the matter might be. You keep changing the rules, and at the end of the day, if you're going to change the rules, you can't expect teams to abide by that at that very moment when you're going to change the rules again a week later, right? So it's a very, very slippery slope in that regard. I also think it's interesting because, you know, a lot of people would use the excuse, yeah, Tennessee's starting to become good. Tennessee might be the most well-rounded college sports team in the country. I mean, how many teams are top 15 in baseball, football, basketball? I mean, it's unheard of. Not to mention, if you look at the other sports, the tennis, the golf, the swimming, we're good at that too. So, sure, you can make a case and say it has to do with the success of Tennessee. For me, it's more about trying to make an example out of an organization that is not going to let up. Tennessee, the state of Tennessee, Donde Plowman, the generals, the lawyers, whoever you want to call them, they're not going to let up. And I'll tell you what, the NCAA is going to get a fight put with them, with Tennessee, for sure.
Absolutely. Pick the wrong fan base to mess with.
Yep.
Speaking of Lady Vols, 12-8 and have lost to 3 unranked opponents, including MTSU. Matthew, tell me, what's going on with this historic program?
Well, you know I follow the team very closely. I'm around the practices. I'm around the games. I'm around the press conferences. The thing I've seen the most is a lack of connectivity. This is a team that has a lot of the same core players that have been on the team the last 2-3 years. Yeah, they have some new ones, but when you have number one, a top 3 draft pick in the WNBA, and you have a lot of your same core in Puckett, in Stripling, right? You got to have some sort of connectivity, which is missing. And to add to that, it's kind of like you lose a game, you go into a press conference, this is what we did wrong. Next game, it's the same issue. Now, I'm not going to blame coaching because there's only so much Kelly Harper can do, and I think Kelly Harper is one of the best coaches in women's college basketball. But You have to see your mistakes and fix your mistakes. You can't continue to make these statements and then go into the next game and make the same mistake. So that's one. Two, there's no leadership. You have a great set of leadership on this team. You have a great set of captains, okay? Where are the captains? Speak up, okay? Typically, you see teams in the NBA or the MLB that are struggling. They have team meetings, just the team. Captains speak. Everybody pitches in, gives their point. And at the end of the day, you see that, what do you know? Teams start playing better. All it takes is a little bit of leadership. Lastly, it's not like Tennessee doesn't have the skill. They're a very talented team. They have great coaching, right? It's a lack of effort. Lack of effort. You have the skill. You have the talent. You have one of the best players in college basketball. Put in some effort. If you're not going to be one of the teams that are on the first on the floor to get loose balls, or you're not going to be one of the teams that are going to lay it out on the line, what are you playing for? Because I'll tell you what, the team that hosted an NCAA tournament last year right here in Knoxville isn't going to even get there the way they're playing. You got to play with some effort. Skill comes second because you got that. You figure that out in practice, but you got to play with some sort of effort because if you don't, we're going to continue to see the Tennessee struggles. They're not even going to make it to the freaking tournament.
Oof. Jordan.
Okay, I know you're around the team and everything and you see what goes on day to day, but I gotta disagree. I just think this is part of the Lady Vols cycle. They always start out the season being hyped, top 10 team, and then they always have it, and then they lose a couple unranked games. This happens every year.
Tennessee is the most historic women's basketball program in the country. Saying they all start out horrible is...
Or it's just the past couple years. That's what I'm referencing. The past couple years, not historically, the past couple years. They lose to a couple unranked opponents, and they drop out of the top 25. And then once they drop out of the top 25, it seems like they tend to chill a little. And then they make their comeback, which I think they're on right now. And I like that their schedule. They've won 8 of their last 10, which obviously it's not against good opponents. It's not any of these big wins, but have lost 8 of the last 10, and they're doing good in SEC play. And then after this, they're climbing the ranks, and then they're going. Kelly Harper and this team, they always find a way to make it to the NCAA tournament. Yeah. You thought they weren't good last year. Oh, but they made it to the Sweet 16. And then you have Jordan Horston being a first-round pick in the WNBA. So I just think this is part of the cycle. And then you'll hear in a couple of weeks, I think, that the Lady Vols are coming up and that they're making a run for the NCAA tournament, and then they're gonna get in and make a run. So I know you're part of the team every day. I just think this is normal from what I've seen the past couple of years.
Sure. From an outside point of view, it's tough to give an opinion that has some sort of merit to it. But look, I was one of the bigger supporters last year. Right? It's my first year here on Rocky Top, and I said, I want to be at these games. This is a historic basketball program. There were some games where I was the only one in the student section. I was the biggest fan last year. Okay, so if you're not going to play with some effort and you're not going to play with some consistency, people are not going to come watch you. People are not going to show up and back your team. Tennessee fans are tired of seeing this team start poorly over the last few years and then figure it out. What helped them last year might not help them this year.
But you said they have the same core, so.
They have the same core, but this is a different year. This is a completely different year. We haven't seen this poor of a start against unranked teams in a very long time, especially the first 5 games this season. It's just extremely poor basketball. And I'm not talking like, okay, you miss shots, you shoot 35% from 3, 30%, whatever. Miss shots or miss shots. The team is playing like they've never played together before, ever. That's what it looks like.
You know,
and
one
I'm
thing
in the
that
practices,
I'm
I'm in the press conferences. All of them have the same statement. Yeah, we got to be better. We got to be better. We got to work on the passing. We got to work. It's the same issue the next game. It's not like they're fixing mistakes. So eventually, your actions have to start coming into play here. Because if not, like I said, you're not going to see this team come March.
And you don't think that's a coaching issue? You think that's all effort from the players?
There's only so much Harper can do. Look, put it this way.
Are you sure she's doing what she can?
If you get rid of Harper right now, who's better? Who in the pool is better? That's kind of the way you look at it, right? If you release Harper, who would take her place that would do a better job? At the moment, I'm not sure I can give you a list. So it's tough. I think she has great leadership. She's shown that time and time again.
But you said the coach has great leadership, but the players don't.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So what do you think the miscommunication is there?
Look, I'm as close as you can get to this team that isn't on the team. And I'm just so sick and tired of watching this team that has been together for so long have no sort of communication. I mean, the camaraderie isn't there. This team has been together, the core has been together for 3-4 years. There is no camaraderie within this team. If put it this way, if you're going to make these grand statements that, we have to be better as a group and I have to be better as a captain, I'm not calling out specific players. While I could, I'm not going to. You have to take action in whatever it is that you're saying. So they got to figure it out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, that's all the time we have for this installment of Rocky Talk. Now, we'll toss it back to Jackson for a new game show segment.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first edition of Name That Player. My name is Jackson Schock. I'll be your host this evening. Now, allow me to explain the game. I will ask a question, and the board will aid the question. The contestants will have the opportunity to answer that question one by one. If a player gets it right, they get a point. If a player gets it wrong, the person next to them can steal. Whoever gets it right gets a point, and whoever gets the most points at the end gets a brand new TVC shirt courtesy of the Volunteer Channel. Now, without further ado, let's meet our contestants. A sophomore from Morristown, Tennessee, Alexi Cowan. Yeah. A freshman from right here in Knoxville, Tennessee, Sophie Starkey. And a freshman from Columbus, Ohio, Alexis Ruma. All right, let's get into it. Dalton Connect has repeatedly said that his favorite basketball player is Kevin Durant. Now, KD was also coached by Rick Barnes in his 1 year at Texas, and they've been compared for having similar stats. So, which of these two players is Dalton Connect?
Well, Jackson, I think that Dalton Connect, I think he's going to be player B. I think KD's got a little better on him.
He is player B. That is 1 point for Alexi. That was a very educated guess. Now let's go on to the next question. Who has been ranked 4th nationally for the highest points per game, KD or DK? Sophie, that's your answer.
I'm going to go with Kevin Durant.
The answer is Kevin Durant. What is the correct answer? It is Kevin Durant. That is a point. All right, that's enough basketball. We're going to switch over to the NFL. Patrick Mahomes has shocked the world by taking the Chiefs to the Super Bowl in 4 out of the last 5 years. Which of these Hall of Fame quarterbacks does Mahomes now share a total of 14 wins with? Alexi, who do you think?
What about Alexis?
Alexis, who do you think? I told you the names are going to get complicated.
I'm gonna have to go with. I'm gonna go with Manning.
Peyton Manning. What is the correct answer? It is Peyton Manning. 3 for 3. All right. Sticking with NFL legends. In his first 7 seasons in the NFL, which quarterback had a record of 82 and 26? Alexi, who do you think?
I'm gonna go with Mahomes.
Mahomes. Is that the answer? Actually, don't reveal it yet. It's not, but we got it. It's Brady. That's on me. No point there. No chance to steal because I accidentally said, let's go to the next question. Sorry, Alexi. Now, back to the NFL. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy has been making headlines becoming the lowest drafted quarterback in the NFL to ever start a Super Bowl. So, that being said, he's also the 3rd youngest quarterback to make a start. Who was the 1st youngest quarterback to make a start? Sophie?
I'm going to go with Goff just because.
It's Goff. Don't reveal it yet because that's incorrect. Alexis, a chance to steal. Youngest quarterback.
I'm gonna go with Roethlisberger.
The Steelers fan says Roethlisberger. Is that the answer? It is not.
Wow.
Alexi, you get the point. It was Dan
What?
Marie.
She did?
Well, she had that guess. Think about it.
Sorry.
Alexi, you get the point.
Fine. I will accept that.
For our final question, we're going to go back to basketball. I said we were going to leave. I lied. So, Caitlin Clark has been making headlines. She's been breaking records. She's been putting herself in the record book. She's a pretty good basketball player. So, her stats compare to future Hall of Famers LeBron James and Steph Curry. You got to tell me which of these 3 basketball players is Caitlin Clark. I believe it's Sophie.
Oh, no. I am going to go with player B.
Player B. I don't really remember who it is, if I'm being honest. Let me
Oh,
take a
no.
look. Oh, no, it's not player B. Sorry.
Dang it.
Chance to steal.
I'm gonna go with player C.
It is not player C.
Goodness,
I'm
we've
sorry.
handed
Let's see
for
the next
two.
one. I
I
think
think
it's
I've got
player
it.
A. Let me take a look. Next one. Well, we're having malfunctions. We'll find out later. I can tell you, I'm pretty sure it's player A. We're going to say it's player A, which means, Alexi, you are our winner. You get the brand new TVC shirt. But that wraps up this episode of Torch Sports. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to find more content from us, you can follow us on Instagram at TorchSportsUTK. We're going to see you right back here next week. Peace!